Hey guys, this is John, and this is my sprint video for sprint number 2. As a quick overview, I'm going to tell you guys about the progress I made with my general project definition and also with my URG. And then I'll also give you guys an overview of what my next steps will be for this upcoming sprint. So first on the list is my updated and more solidified project direction. So the way that I'm going to explain to you guys those changes is by using a storyboard. So let's start here, and this is Peter. And Peter's a student. He's a computer science major, but he only started exploring JavaScript as a result of kind of fiddling with web development, front-end web development. At this point, he's pretty comfortable with HTML and CSS and also JavaScript, but through the lens of front-end frameworks such as Angular. So here is Peter, and he's working on an Angular controller. And as he's coding away, he kind of takes a step back and realizes that what he's writing is pretty hacky. So for example, here is the controller that Peter's working on. This is a really trivial example and a lot more simplified than probably what it would be. But you can see that he has a few functions and states being passed around pretty unnecessarily in order to accomplish what he's doing. So he goes over to this web application, and it prompts him to upload the file that he's working on. So he goes ahead and does that by clicking on that little button right there, and uploads that controller. And over here, the application shows that code in that left pane. And on the right pane, there's this big button that says Get Help from the Professionals. So he clicks on that, and the application is able to match his code with a professional sample that has functionally similar code that's implemented in a better way. So for example, here's what that code file could look like, for example. So you can see that basically accomplishes the same thing, in this case exactly the same thing, but using a closure. So that state isn't passed around as unnecessarily. So within the application, the two sections of the code files that match are highlighted, and ideally there would also be a textual explanation for why that matching was made in order to clarify that for Peter. So with that information, Peter can go back to hacking away at his Angular app with an increased understanding of closures and also directly actionable improvement on his controller. Alrighty, so next up is my URG. Only real updates are that I've met with Peter a few times, and it should be at a pretty good place to submit by Tuesday, which is the due date. The main things I need to work on are shortening it down because it's pretty long right now. Okay, so finally, next steps. Big part, especially from the design perspective, is that I'm going to be prototyping a wizarded version of the interaction I showed you with that storyboard. So I have a few interviews lined up for that. I want to get between 3 and 5 done throughout this sprint so that I can further iterate on those UI affordances. And second, in terms of next steps, is tech feasibility. From what I showed you in the storyboard, it's obviously going to be very complex to implement that kind of affordance for extracting these concepts and mapping them to professional examples. So I have a lot of work to do there. A couple libraries that I'm going to be looking at are Falafel and Esprima for basically parsing through JavaScript files. So yep, that's all for this sprint. Thanks.